The Fort Erie Podcast with Brent Jones. Brent Jones starts now.
Hey, that's me. I'm Brent Jones, and this is episode 79 of the Fort Erie Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. It's Tuesday, January 16th, 2024. Brand new year. Welcome to the new year, folks. We are officially living in the future. I hope everybody's holidays were decent. Mine were pretty good, except for the part where I took a fall on the ice in my backyard, went down on the concrete, messed up my left shoulder pretty good. That's already my bad shoulder. This happened just a few days before Christmas, and I was very fortunate. Despite the short notice, I was able to get in to see my physiotherapist, and he was able to get things working again. I did have my arm in a sling for a few days. It was painful, man. I'm not gonna lie. More on that. More on my physiotherapy adventure coming up in today's edition of Fort Erie Questions and Answers. But the reason I bring up this story is that I decided back in December to learn how to skate. So I'm 38. I'll be 39 in April, almost 40 years old. And I've never been on skates in my life. And I don't know why I thought, hey, this is a good time to learn. The idea is that I'd like to take my daughter skating one day. So I figure a good first step, I got to learn how to do it. So I took a few lessons. I've been getting out on the ice at the Leisureplex on the JC pad, trying to get the hang of things. And I'm going to be honest in saying the skating really does not come to me naturally. I mean, balance has never been my strong suit. And of course, because I'm out there and I'm self-conscious and I know I look like a goof, I always end up running into clients. It's always like people I know are out there skating too. One time the mayor was there skating with me. Well, I shouldn't say skating with me, skating near me, I should say, actively ignoring me, pretending he didn't know who I was. But, I'm out there learning like one of the little kids. I got a helmet on, I got elbow pads, the whole bit. And there's like always high school kids from GFES up in the mezzanine, looking down at me on their lunch break, laughing, and that's okay. Let them have their fun. But anyway, when news got around that I'd taken a fall on the ice, friends, family, people naturally thought this must have been skating related. It must have been me trying to learn how to skate. I fell on the ice, but not so. I've still never actually fallen while skating. I've only taken a fall in recent years while traipsing through my own backyard, as luck would have it. Anyway, today's show, we're kicking off a brand new year. The results are in. We did a fundraiser on this show last fall for Strong Fort Erie Neighborhoods. The results are in for that. I'm going to try to get Teresa Murphy on the phone later from Strong Fort Erie Neighborhoods so we can sort of virtually present her with a check, the proceeds from all the merchandise sold in the Fort Erie Podcast merchandise store. That's coming up. Katie Clarkson from R2G Construction is going to be my guest today. We'll be talking about some community events on today's episode, playing your messages that you've left on the Byrd Box, dear listeners. But for right now, let's talk about what's coming up in this Thursday's brand new edition of the Fort Erie Observer.
Coming up in the Fort Erie Observer.
In partnership with the Fort Erie Observer, I'm able to give you a sneak peek of what's coming up in this Thursday's brand new edition. For starters, you can expect a feature on the Ridgeway Crystal Beach Kin Club. A bit of a trip down memory lane, if you will, looking at the history of the club, which has been in existence for 76 years and is involved in several projects around town. Then Niagara Parks. There's a story on Niagara Parks here. They're to invest up to $19 million towards marina redevelopment. These funds are going to be invested over the next 3 years, creating a new waterfront tourism destination along the Upper Niagara River in Fort Erie. And then the Humane Society of Greater Niagara, they're introducing a new executive director as Kevin Struband retires after almost 30 years of service. You can get to know the new executive director of the Humane Society of Greater Niagara, and her name is Tanya Firmage. And just lastly, Dustin Heyman from Stevensville will be giving us a behind-the-scenes look at his 3D printing business known as Viking Print Lab. For coverage of all these stories and more, be sure to keep an eye on your mailbox this Thursday for a brand new edition of the Fort Erie Observer.
The Fort Erie Podcast.
Hello?
Hi, Teresa. It's Brent Jones at the Fort Erie Podcast. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you, Brent. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, same to you. Same to you.
Well, I appreciate you taking my call. I wanted to get you on the phone to announce the results of the fundraiser we did here on the podcast last fall. Let me just start with a quick refresher for listeners. So on the Fort Erie Podcast last fall, I announced the launch of a merchandise store, and anytime listeners bought merch. There were dozens of items sold, by the way, but after printing, materials, shipping, handling, tax, all that, there was like $2-3 left over from every item purchased, and I promised I'd donate those funds to strong Fort Erie neighborhoods, all the proceeds generated until Christmas Day. So on behalf of listeners, I wanted to get you on the phone because I've got a check here for $127.41 to give to strong Fort Erie neighborhoods.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, listen, Brent, I do want to say thanks because first and foremost, it was most important that you gave us the opportunity to kind of explain to Fort Erie who Strong Fort Erie Neighborhoods was and what our outreach initiatives are doing for our community, of course, with food security and all the other stuff that we do. So that was first and foremost. And then, of course, the added bonus of, receiving a few bucks here and there from generous donors is certainly going to help us to sustain what we do. So I just want to give a huge thank you to everybody who's participated and for your leadership in it as well, Brent.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And of course, anytime you do a fundraiser, you always hope at the end that I say, hey, I've got a check for $12,000 for you instead, right? But hey, we'll take it where we can get it. Can you maybe remind listeners what this money is going to go towards? Like you mentioned obviously some of the food security programs and that type of thing, but in a direct sense, what are these funds going to go towards?
Okay, so very directly, it's going to help us to purchase some of the nutritious food that we need for our Wednesday meals. We do a meal every Wednesday from 310 Central Avenue between 11:30 and 12:30. And right now, Brent, we are serving, close to 200 hot meals every Wednesday. Not the first Wednesday, the second, third, fourth, and fifth. So this is certainly going to help us in purchasing the food that we need. We do rely on donors, and so that's part of it. It could go towards purchasing some personal care hygiene products that we also distribute once a month to over 120 individuals. And those are most essential for our people and our residents in Fort Erie. It helps to keep, if we can hand out a few rolls of toilet paper, some soap or whatever, then our residents have a few more dollars in their pocket to use towards, housing and transportation and medical care. So those are two very concrete ways that we will use that money.
Well, that's perfect. And as a reminder to listeners, Strong Fort Erie Neighborhoods is completely made up of volunteers, no salaries drawn, network of over 70 volunteers. And I'm happy we could help to be a part of that. I'll get that check in the mail. And I want to thank you so much, Teresa, for the work you're doing and all the volunteers with Strong Fort Erie Neighborhoods are doing.
Oh, thanks again, Brent. And of course, Happy New Year to everybody who's listening. And we hope for a healthier, stronger Fort Erie in 2024.
Fort Erie Questions and Answers, based on the Facebook group by the same name.
This is Fort Erie Questions and Answers. It's the part of the show where I go through the Facebook group of the same name. I pick out any questions and answers that I thought were especially interesting, useful, or helpful, and then I share them right here on the Fort Erie podcast. So let's start with this one from Jennifer. Jennifer says, a friend of mine lost an envelope that had $1,500 cash in it on her way to make a deposit to pay bills. It fell out of her pocket around BMO on Jarvis Street. If anyone has leads about this, please private message me. Well, sad to say, but quite predictably, nobody in the comments has found this envelope full of cash. I shouldn't laugh, but I really don't think a big surprise. If somebody is strolling down Jarvis Street, minding their own business, and they happen upon an envelope stuffed full of cash, the person who finds it is either going to do the right thing or they're going to do the wrong thing. If they're a good person, let's say they do the right thing. Well, they're going to take that money, they're going to turn it into the bank, they're going to turn it into police, they're going to make some effort of that sort to get it back to the person it rightfully belongs to. What the person is not going to do who finds it, the good person, is they're not going to go on Facebook and advertise, hey, I found $1,500 cash. Who does it belong to? That's going to invite more problems than it's going to solve. So the best avenue, I think, instead of looking for leads on Facebook would be to talk to police, talk to the bank. But look, if a bad person found it, somebody who's going to do the wrong thing with that money, well, they're not going to post about it on Facebook. I'm pretty sure. I'm almost certain they're not going to advertise about the random money they found and stuck in their pocket that day. Beth asks, can anyone recommend a person or company that can do a thorough new build inspection focusing on build quality and errors such as framing not being straight, drywall screws coming through the wall, taping falling down, faulty plumbing, so on and so forth? Let me be the first to offer a response here and just say that from experience as a realtor, new builds are not always built better. Let me just leave it at that. But the overwhelming response that came up here in the comments was local home inspector Sean Chesney of Sean Chesney Home Inspections. I've worked with Sean many times. He's excellent. A lot of my clients have used Sean to inspect a property before purchasing it. I had Sean inspect my own home before I bought it. Sean himself piped up in the comments and says, yeah, I've done this kind of thing a bunch of times before for clients inspecting new builds. So, reach out to Sean Chesney. I'm sure he can help you. But I will also say, if you bought a new build and you're finding all of these issues, it might be time to have a chat with the builder. I don't know. I'm hoping it's not too late for you to get an inspection done. Let's just say that. Maurice says, looking for a good physiotherapist in the area. Any recommendations, please and thank you. There were two responses I saw come up in the comments more than any others. The first was Lionel at Fort Erie Physio, and the second was Chris Decker at Fortius Physiotherapy. Now, I'll second that one. Chris at Fortius. I've been seeing Chris for months now for my bad shoulder. He's excellent. All the staff at Fortius are great. So highly recommended. Anyway, Fort Erie, keep the questions coming. I always find them interesting.
It's Fort Erie's answering machine, the Byrd Box.
This is the Byrd Box. It's Fort Erie's answering machine. You can call in 24 hours a day, squawk about anything you like, and I'll play those messages right here on the Fort Erie podcast. I call it the Byrd Box because the last four digits spell BYRD. I did not get to pick the phone number. Anyway, I got some interesting messages over this past month or so while off, like this message here. Let's start with this one, a wrong number.
Hello, pizza driver, hello.
Yeah, I think he gave up. I'm kind of disappointed, to be honest, that I wasn't available. Like I wasn't actually at my desk to answer this call, because I might have liked to have a pizza. If there's a pizza delivery guy trying to reach this number, sounds like this pizza driver was trying desperately to make a delivery, and everyone knows that desperate pizza tastes at least 10% better than the other kind. Anyway, I guess we'll never know if the person who actually placed the pizza order got their pizza or not. Hopefully they did. Anyway, next up, I've got a call here from Sarah Gordon over at Fort Erie International Academy, and she could use our help, so have a listen.
We're looking for volunteer opportunities that will help our students complete the 40 hours of community service required to graduate. If you have any ideas, opportunities, or suggestions, please contact me at sarah.gordon@seia.ca.
I feel like the email address took up like 50% of that message, but I remember those days in high school having to do 40 hours of community service in order to be able to graduate. Like you could have, an average of 98% across your entire course load your senior year, and if you did not have those 40 hours of community service, you did not get to graduate. I think my year, 2003, graduated in 2003. I think we were actually the first year to have to do those hours of community service. Nice to know that that sort of thing is still alive and well. I seem to recall that most of my 40 hours, I just did tutoring. I thought, it was an easy thing I could do, just stay at the school kind of after hours and do some tutoring. But if you are aware of any volunteer opportunities around town that might be able to help a FIA student graduate, please do get in touch with Sarah. That email address again is sarah.gordon@fia.ca. I believe it was .ca. Let me just triple check that here. Hang on. Let's play that again.
IA.ca.
Yeah, it is .ca. Okay, so sarah.gordon@fia.ca. And just lastly, I received a message from a friend of the podcast, previous guest, Les Lakewood, owner and operator of Little Red Coffee on Queen Street. He's got some exciting updates about Little Red Coffee that he wanted to share with listeners. So here it is.
This is Les here from Little Red Coffee at 46 Queen Street in Fort Erie. This is just a quick note to your listeners to let you know of a couple of good news updates from the shop and from Fort Erie. First, we've expanded our hours to 7 days a week.
Nice.
We're putting in the time, and our new hours are Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday, we start at 10 a.m. and end at 3. And on Friday nights, we're open until 6 p.m. Friday nights, we also have happy hours with wine, cocktails, craft beers, and specialty coffees from 4 to 6 p.m. And we do snacks and dinner. Also wanted to let your listeners know that we're now serving a traditional breakfast during the weekdays.
Nice. Nice. Now, I was thinking though, as I was just listening to the playback on that message, I really should start charging for this, man. Like, holy moly. I'm kidding, of course. Bird Box is free. It'll always be free. Anybody can use it. You can call in for any reason you want, 24 hours a day, squawk about any topic. But that was basically what I just aired here was basically a 45-second commercial for Little Red Coffee, broadcast to all of Fort Erie. Anyway, you heard it here, folks. There are new hours now at Little Red Coffee. You can double check those hours online. Little Red Coffee now open 7 days a week. Breakfast available. Looks like, bacon and eggs, that kind of thing. Something like $10.99. There was a second half to the message that Les left for us, but I'm going to save that for later in the show when we talk about upcoming community events. But anyway, folks, as I said, any topic, any subject, something you want to get off your chest, a joke, someone around town who deserves praise, any reason you want, call the Byrd Box, 289-599-2973.
Have something you want to squawk about? Let the whole town know what's on your mind. Call the Byrd Box at 289-599-2973. That's 289-599-BYRD.
Okay, joining me on the phone right now, I'm speaking with Katie Clarkson at R2G Construction. Katie, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, good. Well, hey, as long as there's lots of appreciation to go around, eh?
Yeah, very much so.
Well, I'm excited to speak with you because R2G Construction is one of those brands that I feel like comes up on the Fort Erie podcast all the time. I do a recurring feature called Fort Erie Questions and Answers, which is based on the Facebook group by the same name. And constantly when people are asking about, renovations or home improvements, I mean, R2G Construction comes up all the time in the comments. So what does R2G Construction do? And, what kind of different services do you offer?
So our main projects really consist of either custom homes. We really like residential because we really like dealing with different people in the community. We do commercial as well, but we really try and focus more on the residential stuff. So whether that be custom homes, major remodels, we do a lot of that in Crystal Beach. We do a lot of foundations. We have our own foundation panels. So we do pour concrete foundations. And we also have windows and doors that we supply to people as well. We do those for our own projects as well. So we have a better thing for our clients. We get a little bit off of the windows and doors and stuff like that. So it's good for everybody. But just overall, we really try and stay in that residential area. But we, like I said, do commercial stuff as well, for anybody that's looking. But it's just more so that we like to have that special relationship with our clients and kind of get, more into the detail-oriented stuff for, designing people's homes and stuff. It's just a nice community vibe. So just makes us happy to be a part of it.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned community because I think it's tough to go a day in the town of Fort Erie without seeing one of the R2G construction trucks somewhere. I mean, you guys are ubiquitous. You're all over town. Your branding stands out. It's always black truck and yellow lettering. So how big is your fleet of trucks? I mean, how big is your operation?
You know what? You would actually be surprised because I really like that color scheme of the black. I love black trucks. It's always something that I've really liked. My stuff has always been black, as my partner's has as well. But and the yellow just super stood out to everybody. But it's funny because the marketing does really well because there's only 3 trucks.
Is that so?
Yeah, because it's just everybody recognizes it immediately because it stands out so well. So they just, every time that someone sees it, it stands out in the back of their mind, right? So, but yeah, it's always just 3 of us just going around with the trucks. Yes. So yeah, we are quite small. Our employees anyway. So we have the owners that drive the trucks, and then we have one foreman that drives the trucks. And so that's the 3 of them. But most of our stuff comes from our sub-trades. So our sub-trades, we do our own framing and a lot of our own like foundation work and stuff like that, waterproofing and what have you. But up until that point, we were doing most of the totality of our projects, but they were getting much larger, so it was harder for us as a smaller team to accomplish these things, just us. So we started sourcing out different sub-trades that could help us on our projects, right? So after a while, we're like, oh, this is starting to get overwhelming. It's too much. It's too big. So we started finding these people, but they weren't exactly like the right fit for us, whether that be, they just didn't vibe 100% with everybody, or that their work wasn't, as good of quality as we liked it. So we were trying our best to kind of filter through and find the perfect people. And that took us a few years. But now that we've actually kind of nailed down all of our perfect sub-trades, we use them for everything. So we have about 30 to 40 different sub-trades that we use, and they're all family to us. So we do our best. Even if we're not busy, we try and keep them busy. It's really important to us that, we stay local, and they're all here, right? So their success is as important as mine. So I try my best to keep them busy always, and it just works out really well because they do the same for me.
Well, that's a great detailed answer, and there's a few things I wanted to unpack there. I mean, to the question about the trucks, I always wondered that because it's so noticeable and it stands out. Am I seeing the same truck over and over and over again, or is there a whole fleet of these things out here? Now, when you say sub trades, you're essentially referring to subcontractors. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So people that I would hire that would do the service for me for the clients that have asked us to complete their project. So we're general contractors for the most part.
I gotcha. Now, you and I were talking a little bit before I hit the record button, and you mentioned that one of the things that was really important to you with, not just the work you do residentially or commercially, but also with the the sub-trades people that you work with, is that you try to keep things local as much as possible within the town of Fort Erie or as close to. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Oh yeah, our electricians, they live in Ridgeway, and our plumber lives in Ridgeway, and all of the people that I can think of on the top of my head that we use for trades actually almost lives in Port Erie, if not in Niagara Falls or Welland. Welland's a big one too. So we just do our best, keep it local, and we have never sourced out to Toronto or anything like that, because it's just super important to, keep the finances within the community, and to just keep the work community related.
Well, that makes sense to me. And I think it reflects in, I was looking at your online reviews, Google and that kind of thing. And you guys have outstanding positive reviews. And I'm going to ask you a question, not to try to, put you in the hot seat or anything, but is that...
Yeah.
Is that normal? Because I find that people, when they work in trades, or, you have subcontractors involved, I don't know. I mean, my experience has been that not everybody gets these glowing 5-star reviews like you guys have. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, that's so nice. You know what? There is maybe 2 or 3 general contractors that I know of that are just as great as we are that I've run into. But there is also, I would say, this is actually a very heavy topic for me, that there's a lot of contractors out there that are bad news bears.
Yeah.
And that either don't have the experience, or that they, dare I say it, but, get a deposit and you never hear from them again.
Sure.
Which is actually, even in our community, it's really common, very scarily common. I see it a lot with concrete work, like concrete driveways, concrete slabs, stuff like that, where people, and, they have reviews and they have things on Facebook, and, they've heard from a friend of a friend that they do a good job, and that it just turns into a nightmare where they give them 50% of the job to get the concrete, and they never hear from them again. They rip their driveways, stuff like that. So it's, and being in the forefront of it, we hear about it a lot, because people say, well, this person, ripped my driveway and they took my money and they never came back. can you help me? And of course, we would love to, but it's just unfortunate that it happens in the first place, that, these people take their money and
skip town, basically.
But it's just important that another reason to stay in the community, that we generally try and keep all the same sub-trades so that this doesn't happen, and that, we have that local feel that people can actually trust, right? Because it's scary to, go into a financial thing with these people that you don't know who they are. You don't know, what their work is like to a certain extent, that, you could be dealing with $5,000, you could be dealing with $500,000, that, you have to trust these people like, basically like your family, because it's a huge investment.
Yeah, sometimes even more than family, because I think a lot of families would not trust each other with $500,000.
Yeah.
Any sum of money.
You're very right there. I should have. Yeah, you're totally right.
But I get this. I get the sentiment, because in a small town, I think like, know, and trust factor is very important. So to your credit, you've got great reviews. How long has R2G Construction been in business?
I think about 5 years, 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
And it's interesting because I think we get good reviews because my partner and I are so different. And that normally, that sounds like a bad thing, but it's actually a really great thing, that I'm very community oriented and very particular. And of course I love construction and I love the finite details. And my partner is very, very picky about construction and just about, his quality in general. So when I'm dealing with the clients and I'm, figuring out all of the stuff that they, that's going to be their new home, and, that they're super excited about, and I'm just as excited about, it's great for them. And then when they go in and they see, oh my goodness, look at this freaking quality, it's amazing. When, they go and see my partner, it's just it's a perfect combination.
Now, you mentioned your partner, Jimmy, a few times in there. So it'd be fair to say R2G is a family business.
Yeah. He's great. He is, he's always there for me, and he appreciates everything that I do. And like with the calendar that we're doing,
yeah,
he is super supportive, and it's just, it's a great partnership for sure.
Well, let's let's talk about the calendar, because I know community is obviously important to you guys. You could have set up shop anywhere in Niagara, but you chose to set up shop right here, and I think that speaks volumes. But you and Brittany Hepburn kind of collaborated on creating a calendar in the month of December as a 2024 wall calendar featuring women in business. It was the Conquer Women in Business series, and the proceeds from all those calendar sales went to, or are being donated to the YWCA in St. Catharines. Do I have those details correct?
Yep, that's great.
So whose idea was that to get the calendar going? Was that you? Was that Brittany?
Well, originally it was myself, and I hadn't really fully developed the idea up until I asked Brittany to help me. And, from there, we kind of figured out the finite details together. I just really knew that I wanted to do a calendar featuring business women, but I didn't really know to what extent or how it was actually going to be implemented, or the logistics of it. So, and it was, what, I'm going to be totally honest, it was a lot harder than I was expecting. Like I was thinking like, we're going to get these, 12 ladies, we're going to take pictures of them, and it's going to be great. And we're going to make a calendar, and, me and my bubbly mind, I was like, this is so much fun. And then we started doing it, and we got to like the third girl, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to take me so long. This is such a difficult project. And it was difficult. But it was awesome. Like I don't know if I've ever done a charitable project that was more fulfilling than that, because I met like such awesome people, that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet if I didn't do this. And B, it's just for such a great cause. that, I couldn't have asked for a better recipient than the YWCA, because
Right.
they just do everything. I went there for the first time, actually inside, because it's quite difficult to go there, because obviously they're protecting the ladies, right? So you need a very structured appointment. So I went there. I think it was probably a couple months ago now. Time flies, but and I was just absolutely blown away by how much they do, how much the funds actually, how long they go, and they have a food drive. They protect the women that have been going through domestic violence, human trafficking, families, and it's all within the Niagara region. There's no other people that are coming from, any other place. It's actually people that are from our community that are directly impacted by the funds that are going towards the YWCA and the volunteering and all of that stuff. So it's just crazy. I went there, and I went in the basement with their kitchen staff, and I said to them, I'm so sorry to interrupt. And I looked over and I said, are you heating the kitchen with your oven? And they were like, yeah, because we don't have, the funds get directed towards food and the women and stuff, and we don't have enough money to be able to, afford any kind of proper HVAC system. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes me so upset. I just, so it's something that anyway is super important to me, that, the people that are taking care of these women and, the women themselves, of course, and the families that are affected by it, they get the proper financial support that they need. So
it puts things into perspective too, eh? When you're having a bad day on the job site, a bad day at work, and you go, you see those types of conditions, you see the situations people find themselves in where they end up, needing that kind of help, and you go, man, my bad day suddenly doesn't seem all that bad anymore,
No, not at all. I was almost, and I'm not one to cry. I do not cry often, and I was almost in tears for sure when I was there.
There's a lot of very unfortunate situations going on, that's for sure. But the good news is I did pick up one of those calendars for listeners who want to check it out. It's Conquer Women Mean Business. You can look it up online, Facebook, Instagram, all the places you'd expect. I grabbed one from Turkstra Lumber in Ridgeway. And do you want to just remind listeners what are some of the other places? First off, are there still calendars available? And secondly, if so, where can they be picked up? Where can they be purchased?
Rona in Fort Erie, Turkstra Lumber, Niagara Automotive down near Jarvis there, Canadian Tire Fort Erie, South Coast. Phil's got some calendars there. 335 on the Ridge. Cravings by Jane.
Okay, so we've covered that, where to find the calendar. Let's talk, let's bring it back to R2G Construction, Katie. Where can people find you online? How do they book with you? Can they get a free quote? How do people render your services?
Oh, yeah. Well, honestly, first of all, I'll tell you, we're on Facebook. If you just look up R2G Construction on Facebook, we have our own page there with all of our projects and stuff like that. We have an Instagram page. We have Google. If you just look us up, you can find our website too. And yeah, you can always give us a shout. We have our email there, and then we also have the office phone number there. And I get messages from the office phone as well.
Well, just before I let you go, Katie, is there anything else that you want to share with listeners?
If you ever have questions related to your home in general, or any other kind of side projects in regards to construction or renovations, you can always call us. And, if you're looking for a different kind of service rather than us, I would always rather you call and ask the professionals, whether it be us or somebody else, who you're looking to hire or what you're looking to do, because, we can, protect the community in a sense and try and give you the best advice that we can, whoever the best person is to use, or, what direction is the best to go, because your house is 9 times out of 10, it's your number one investment, right? So
Sure.
it's important to get the right people to do the project. And it's always good to protect your investment.
Community events coming up in Fort Erie.
If you're on the hunt for something to do for the balance of the month, here's a look at some upcoming community events. This Friday, January the 19th, St. George Catholic Elementary School, they're going to be hosting Guys and Dolls Mystery Bingo. Doors open at 6. Bingo is at 7. There will be food available for purchase. It's something like $40 for 8 rounds of bingo. I have no idea if this is a fundraiser or what it is, but hey, if you like bingo, no better place to do it than a Catholic elementary school. Saturday, January 20th, one of our local churches is hosting a ladies' breakfast. I assume all are welcome. This is like a fellowship type event, 10 a.m. at Mays Place in Stevensville. And then at 7 p.m. on Saturday, you can head to Zen Day Spa, where Soulful Energy will be hosting a meditation sound bath. It says to please bring a yoga mat. Also happening at 7 p.m. on Saturday, you can catch the Renee Huard, I hope I said that right, Project CD release party. That's going on at Sessions at the River. I'm not sure if there'll be a live performance or not. And then also, again, at 7 p.m., lots of choices. Catch the Ace continues at the Fort Erie Legion. You can buy 1 ticket for $5 or 7 tickets for $20. Definitely the better deal. Try your luck to catch the Ace. On Sunday, January 1st, Jerome Godbout Jam Band will be performing at the Crystal Chandelier from 2 until 6 p.m. Wednesday, January 24th, you can catch a workshop on creative clothes mending. So mending your worn clothes. That's happening 6 p.m. at Fort Erie Public Library, specifically the Crystal Ridge branch. It is free to attend. On Thursday, January 25th, Happy Jacks is hosting Own Your Own Business Seminar. Looking at the photos, this looks like it's being run or hosted by somebody who, it looks like his headshot might have been taken from a 1980s Polaroid. I'm not sure, but if this sounds interesting to you, it's going on 7:30 until 9 p.m. at Happy Jacks. If you go and you end up getting recruited to sell Primerica, don't say I didn't warn you, okay? Friday, January 26th, Wine and Paint Night is being run by Tara from Paper Homes. That's being hosted by Gather Tasting Room in Crystal Beach at 6:30. Saturday, January 27th, also happening at Gather Tasting Room, there'll be a candle making workshop at 3 p.m. At 6 p.m. on Saturday, January 27th, head to the Fort Erie Central Fire Station for music trivia. There will be pizza, beer, and wine available to purchase. And also happening Saturday, January 27th, the Best Comedians Tonight comedy show is happening at the Sanctuary Center for the Arts. Dylan Gott and Clifford Myers will be performing. Doors open at 7:30 p.m. It's a 19-plus event, and tickets are available through ticketscene.ca. And lastly, I'll mention on Tuesday, January 30th at 6 p.m., the Centennial branch of Fort Erie Public Library will be hosting an adult craft night, and it is free to attend.
You're listening to the Fort Erie Podcast.
Just to wrap up today's episode, there's actually one more community event that I want to share with you. It's a meetup happening this Friday for Fort Erie small business owners. Earlier during the Byrd Box feature, I mentioned that there was a second half to the message that Les Lakewood left for us. So here it is. Let me play it for you right now.
Little Red Coffee and Crafted 1885 are co-hosting a monthly Fort Erie Small Business Club social. Search for Fort Erie Small Business Club on Facebook and register for our first event, which is this Friday, January 19th at Crafted 1885. The social starts at 6 p.m. and we've put together some icebreakers for our first session. Come lend your voice as we work on creating a better business community to support our fellow entrepreneurs.
Well, there you go. There you have it. I'll be there myself this Friday, January 19th, 6 p.m., happening at Crafted 1885 on Dominion Road. If you are also a small business owner in Fort Erie, I hope to see you there as well. And that's our episode for today. Episode number 79 is in the books. Thank you for listening. Episode 80 will be available next Tuesday, January 23rd. You can subscribe to the Fort Erie Podcast wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. That way you'll get a notification whenever new episodes are released. Or, of course, as always, you can stream new episodes right at the FortEriePodcast.com. Make sure to give Katie Clarkson and R2G Construction a follow online. If you want to host your own fundraiser for Strong Fort Erie Neighborhoods, or maybe just make a donation, you can get in touch with Teresa Murphy. And please, as a reminder, it is winter, guys. It's winter, strange winter we've been having so far. There are, slick conditions. Be careful out there. Watch out for ice patches. And if you happen to see me out at the Leisureplex trying to learn how to skate, looking like a baby giraffe, maybe just pass along a positive positive word or two, a little bit of encouragement, because, Lord knows I could use it.
You've been listening to the Fort Erie Podcast with your host, Brent Jones. Never miss an episode. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or visit theforteriepodcast.com.